Howdy, Bart here, and welcome. This is going to be a mixture of part 3 on the UE4 basics and late Sunday services. Let everything get caught up here. Come on, Mr. YouTubes, let's get caught up here. Alright, so kind of where we left off, we were discussing adding in some stuff. We had done a shootable enemy. We're having some difficulties with the animations, and I will get some more time to work on that later. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to go into a little bit of talk, since, you know, this is not really the coolest of levels. You know, we just got a little room here, and yeah, things could be a whole lot better. Looking kind of rough. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and switch over, create a new map, and cover some of the basics of when you're building a map, things you can do to create your own structures. Maybe talk about the difference between using a cube section like we did versus a BSP geometry, because we did the wall sections here and we made our own walls that way, and on our roof up here we actually used the frozen floor. That's not the floor. Well, we used a floor, and this is the frozen room. So we used a floor piece and then stretched out. And as you can see, what happens is it ends up stretching on the material. It makes it look a little awkward. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and create a new map, and we'll get started on it. And we're going to go ahead and make a new level, use a default. And what we start off with is a floor. I'm going to leave it for just a second here, but we're going to create our own floor. Now, typically you could go through this way and set up a landscape and create a whole world environment, but no, I'm not going to do that. We're going to start off with blank emptiness, and we're going to work with nothing. So the reason why I'm going to start with this is I can go ahead and set the location value to 0 here, and we're going to base everything off of the 0, 0, 0 on X, Y, and Z locations, and we'll go from there. And we'll go ahead and do save all, and we have a maps folder already in this project, so I'm going to go ahead and call this our new place, whatever. You can always change it later, but that's going to be good enough to get us started with. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a few of the shapes. Now, you've got a lot of the shapes are already up here as well. So, I mean, you could start off with, you've got the cube actor, and you're going to have to size it up or slide it up there. You've got the sphere. And, okay, no problem. You got a cylinder, cone, the cone of shame, a plane, which is just a flat 2D object, and that's all your basic ones. Now, of course, we made a new map, so what we need to do is go to our world settings, change our game mode override to third-person game mode, so it gives us our player to work with. And I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and see we still have the mouse issue. So it's going to be quite annoying to deal with. We hit our V key, and we'll look again. We have this guy, which is our plane. That one, as you can see what the shapes are, they all come with that base material on it, and that's fine. So let's quickly address that that issue with the mouse cursor. Not everybody gets it. I get it because I'm special. So we're going to go into here, and from our event begin play, like we did on the other map, and we could just copy and paste, but I don't feel like going back to the other map and back and forth. So all we did was our set input to game mode only, and we'll position that up there. We'll get a reference to our player controller, and then slap it here, and then set show mouse cursor, connect it up. Now we can leave it like that. We're not going to add our sounds in like we did on the other one just yet. We're not worried about that, but this is just going to let us go into the map and not have that stupid mouse cursor bug. But as you see, it wants me to build lighting because we've added physical objects into the map. And I'm actually going to, you can select them this way and control left click and select them all, Or you can come over here, we got a cone, control left here, here, here. Well, we're not going to do the floor, so we can uncheck that one, get rid of that, and there we go. And then hit the delete key, and we can just rapidly get rid of them. Now, in these same things here, we have the geometry tab. We click on that, and we can click a box. Well, the difference is this box doesn't have a pretty little texture on it, and as you can see, well, it's plain. Well, what if we don't want it to be plain? We want to have something on it texture-wise. Before I drag that one into the map, I can come over to my starter content, go to my materials list, and let's make this a marble floor. So I'm going to grab the rock marble polish because we're going to make the floor really quickly. And now if I drag it and drop it into the map, it now has that marble shape just because we already had that material selected here. It picks it up automatically and saves us a lot of time. Kind of cool. So to make this our floor, we want to go ahead and make it bigger. And for this example, we can look here. We have our X, Y, Z. So now we're facing in the X location, facing the Y direction, and now Z direction. So knowing that, we can look right there in that corner and know that this way is green. The green, we want to make this bigger. Now, if I grab these transform tools and stretch them out, it's going to stretch the material as well. So instead, what I'm going to do is go to my details panel, and I want to stretch it in the Y-axis really quickly. And we're going to make this 10,000. Hit tab. It's kind of a big floor, so let's actually make it 5,000. So you can see it stretches it out, and it doesn't stretch the... it's not actually stretching, it's actually resizing it, which is a nice difference. So for this example, I'm going to bring it back down to 2,000. And I'm going to go ahead and set the X value the same way of 2,000. So we have our little square section right here. We can actually double that and make it 4,000 by 4,000. And that seems about right. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my light sphere, and because I don't like looking at them, I'm just going to drag it down. I'm going to grab my light source, and I'm going to drag it underground as well, just so we're not looking at them. And anything like our atmospheric fog that's sticking out that we might accidentally pick up on, the sphere reflection, I'm actually for this, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it for now. It is beneficial, but I don't like it whenever I'm just showcasing things. So with that, we can go ahead and get rid of our floor. Pardon the noise. I have the downside of living near an airport. And I'm going to grab my player start, and I'm going to drag it so that when you're looking at it, it'll say bad size. You bring it up until it no longer says bad size, and you're good to go. And we got our world settings set, and now we can go into our new little section here. It's really shiny and bright, so... But that's a cool way to get everything set up. And we know that we want our player start, for now, we can be our locator. We're at 0, 0, and 292. If we set that to 0, it's going to put us on the ground. And look, I click on this right here. The best way to do it is to click on the box brush that we had here and set this to 0. And our location is not going to be centered right now. We're 4,000, so let's try 2,000 by 2,000. And again, let's grab our player start as 0, 0, 0. That's not going to work. So we want our player start to be dead square in the center, so we know our map is going to be symmetrical, and we can work out from there. So let's go ahead and go back to our box brush. And if we were to try to split the difference and get everything back to where it was before, you notice that this one right here, the BSP, that puts the center there. So 0, 0, and 0 is there. And again, we grab our player start. It's at 0, 0, 0. So everything's good. So we'll just bring our player start up. And it should be right around the... And you play around with it until you get it right. But 200 is our magic number. So with that, we're dead square in the center. And why does it really matter? Okay, well, if we grab something like another box, because we want to make some walls. Okay, I just created that. I don't want that same texture, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. I'm going to grab the concrete tiles and then drag it in here, and our box is now made out of concrete tiles. So we can actually do this. Go 0, 0, and we'll leave the 200 for the height, so it's sitting right on the ground level. Now, if we want to get to our edge, we can come over here and move it right to the edge. Now, when we set it up this way, if we just go ahead and do 2000, that's going to put it right on the line. And if I go to resize the, in this case, the X location, let's cut that X into half of 100. It still has just that same amount of overlap, and we're right there on the line, so we can use that to make an actual wall. So now if we want to get our width going this direction, we can go ahead and do the y-axis of 2000. Well, why didn't it work? Well, the units of the BSP geometry and the units of the real world, remember we had 4000 was our width here, so 2000 would be from the center to here. So we're going to have to go ahead and do the 4000. Alright, so got our 4000, and that perfectly covers here. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and make the wall a little bit taller so we can kind of keep our players from falling out accidentally. So I'm going to go ahead and let's make it, I don't know, we're going to grab our Z height, and let's go ahead and go from 200 to, oh, let's get silly and let's go 1000. Now what that does is it pushes it through the wall this way, so we can kind of split the difference on our location. If we actually bring it up, then we want to have our 500, which is half, plus our 200, which gives us 700. Well, that doesn't look right either. So again, go back and split the difference, and there we go. Now if we want to go ahead and add these walls all the way around, we can go ahead and take, and while we have that one selected, Control C and Control V, and see where at location is 2000, 0, and 600. We can now, we want to make sure this is symmetrical, so we can just do negative 2000, and it exactly puts it where we want it to go. Lovely. Now we can take the same one and we can rotate it with our select and rotate transform, but the XYZ of the item is going to stay the same direction as we created it, so the X and the Y will then be off. So if you go to trying to resize it, you're going to have to remember that they're switched around, and if you're in a perfectly symmetrical world, then that might not be the best way to go about it. So it's almost just as easy to go ahead and grab another box geometry, slap it down, and just copy the dimensions. So we know that we had, and if you don't know what they were, click back on your box 3. We're at 100, 4000, 1000, but we don't need those exactly the same. So where we had the 1000 Z height, we can go ahead and do that. And our height was 600, so that puts us on the ground level. Now we want our X to be what the Y was in the other one, so 4000. That's our width, and 2000 on our Y. No, we wanted 100 on our Y. And now if we look, we're at 1820 here, so let's make that 2000, and that brings us directly, now again, we're making a square room for right now. That puts us exactly where we want to go. So let's go ahead and Control C and Control V, make another copy of it so we can take the new copy, and we'll change it to negative 2000. And now we have a symmetrical box that looks nice and neat. We can walk around inside of our box. We're trapped. Now, a little something you can do to try to change things up BSP geometries are very flexible. You can do so much with them. But before I create the next one, I'm going to go ahead and change my material. And, oh, I don't know. Let's go ahead and grab a basic floor. It's kind of an interesting color here to work with. I think it looks a little bit monochromatic, so we'll worry about colors and stuff later. So let's grab that basic floor. Let's grab our cylinder, and let's go ahead and drop that into the map. And it looks more like a stop sign to me, but okay. What if you want to make it more circular and look more like it's actually, well, I don't know, something? Well, let's go ahead and grab it. We're at 0, 0, 0 on this, but we're just going to drag it this way to get on the 0 line. And let's make it at negative 1400. And no, I said negative 1400. You go back where I told you to go. So, okay, we're there. So we have some set dimensions we can work from. We can actually use this while we're building something, and we can go ahead and make it the way we want to, and then we can move it wherever we need to, if that makes sense. But let's go ahead and make it look right. Let's go ahead and we can see on the brush settings over here, if you look at the number of sides, if I replace that number 8 with 20, now we have 20 sides. What if you want to go more? Let's go to 40 sides. You can put as many as you want there, and that's going to give you a nice little circular shape there. But what if you want to make it taller? You can always stick it when you're working with BSP geometry. Stay away from that stupid scale right there. That's not going to give you the best results overall. What you want to do is let's actually change the number back to 10 for right now. And let's actually change our outer radius to 100. Let's go ahead and change the number of sides now back to 20. And what we can do, if we want to make it taller, and being goofy, we can, like we mentioned before, adding a missile in and that kind of stuff. Well, that's kind of boring. I don't really want to do that. So let's actually focus in on something more useful. Let's grab that same cylinder again, which I didn't need to delete the one that I had, but we'll go 0, negative 1400, and 200. Let's actually change the Z, which I can change right here. Let's change that to 600, and then we'll want to bring it up a little bit so that we're right there on the ground, which is going to be 400 for us. Let's change our outer radius now to 400, and let's go ahead and add a few more sides to it. Let's go ahead and bump it up to 20 sides now, and that's good enough for our example. Now it is a solid block. I'm gonna just go into the map and look at it to our left. We can see that, okay, it's a nice big solid block. What the heck can we do with that? It's just something to walk around, and okay. So since we're facing this direction when we first spawn out, we can either change the character's position by selecting this and rotating him around, which is the quickest way. So now when we go in, we're facing what we're actually working on. So let's change it up a little bit. Let's grab that, and I'm actually going to grab it by the world outliner. I'll come over here and I'm going to change it to hollow. And that's going to now give us, well, the fact that it's hollow. Being hollow, you can actually not see anything different right now. It still looks the same. But if you were to go inside, you have an inside and an outside. As you can see, it looks like a big giant gun barrel. So let's actually look at the sides as 20. It's a cylinder. And just because it's Unreal Engine, let's go ahead and save all. Just because you have your inner radius, well, it's 190, our outer radius is 400. So let's actually make it 350 250 on our inner radius. You see that opens it up a little bit. So again, what can we do with that? We can't get into that. It's just like standing straight up and down. Well, if we tipped it on its side, we'd be able to get inside of it, but I'd rather have a door. So I'm going to go ahead and grab another box brush, and I can set it right here. Well, it's the same material color. We're not worried about the color right now. Let's go ahead and make the Z height to 300. And that's lovely. We need to bring it up to where it's on the ground. So let's go at 250. Okay, well, what does that do for us? Well, let's go ahead and stick it right here and change the brush type from additive to subtractive. Now it's created a hole that we can actually come right over here, and we've got a door to get into our circle now. Cool, right? So what if we're now really hate this texture? That's just ugly. Well, first let's go ahead and grab our box brush, and we want to bring it down. You see how we have a little bit sticking up above ground level? Let's go ahead and take that and change our Z height to, let's try 249. Nope. Let's try 251. And as we're changing this, it's raising it up. We don't want to raise it up, so we want 240, but now it's digging into the floor. It's kind of hard to get that nice perfect thing, but well, again, it can be good enough for now. So if we look at this item right here and we want to change what this one looks like, well, doing that, we just clicked on one side, and then okay, we want to give it the texture here. Well, that will take you a while to go around and click on each one of them. Even if you just selected one, control click, control click, control click, and you can change one or two faces at a time that way. Or you can actually right click on it, and when you scroll down here, you can go to geometry, select, and then select all adjacent surfaces, and there you go. It not only grabbed the outside, but it grabbed the inside, the top, the bottom, the whole deal. So I can take that and go ahead and make it, oh, I don't know, let's make it out of bricks. May look really dorky then. So I select my material, and then I click on the arrow here. And then as we go in here to look at it, doesn't look too bad. So I can click back up here, we can go back into the world, and as you see, we now have bricks except for the inside part that we chopped out. So now we actually have to go in, and here's where we can do the individual and grab all four sides, because we chopped out a hole in it. And let's be different. Let's actually go ahead and use the same texture. Boring, I know, but I wanted to show one of the things that can happen is, if you look, that's not bad. That'll work in this case, but sometimes these will not look right. You can use the actual, clicking on each individual one separately, and you can come down here and pan and shift it around to make it line up if it didn't already line up with the other bricks that were there. You could rotate it 45 degrees, 90 degrees, or however much you wanted. You could flip it around. You could set the scale, so you can make the bricks larger or smaller. You've got a lot more control over your materials this way by doing it that way. Because again, if we were to come in here and just grab a basic cube and then grab it, we've got our material selected here, apply our material to it to replace our basic. And as we mentioned before, whenever we go to start stretching, see, it stretches those bricks out and it just doesn't look right. And if you go taller, it skews it out that way. So BSP geometries, see, this doesn't give you the option to really go in there and fix that material. There's just no real option for it. So BSP geometries are quite handy. And if you want to quickly create a top lid for it, say if you want a roof, so when you go in you have a top to it. So I'm going to grab my cylinder brush, and I can do the same thing. I can hit Control C, Control V, and it makes another exact copy of it. But I don't want another exact copy. I want to go ahead and uncheck hollow, so now it's solid. And remember, we set our inner radius to 350. Let's set our outer radius to 350. And we don't want to go ahead and do that because it fills up the whole thing on the inside. So let's actually make it, since the wall thickness was around 50 anyway, let's go ahead and set our Z to 50. And now we can just go ahead and scroll on up and make it go all the way to the very top if we want to, or leave a little gap so it looks a little bit neater. And again, we don't have material applied to it, so we need to get that material on it. So I can just click off of it and click back onto it again, because we didn't drag it in this way, and when we made a copy, it didn't copy over those aspects. So how are we going to get it? Well, you can click on it this way, and if you need to, you can come back to your select all adjacent surfaces, and let's actually go ahead and do the concrete tiles on the rooftop. And honestly, since I would rather have this same system right here to where we go in, it has its own floor as well. So I'm going to grab both of these two. I am going to slide it up in the air just a little bit. And then I'm going to click on my roof brush, Control C, Control V, and then I'm going to drag it down. And I'm going to drag it down to where the floor just starts to come into effect right there. And you can actually, let's try it at 250, and let's grab these two. Let's actually grab this one. We just want to kind of get it to where it lines up and is part of it, just to create a floor effect. Now, you notice the opening in the door did not go up as well because I did not select it. Don't really need to right now because we're going to slide it back down here in just a second. So that's good, and we'll go ahead and click on one of the faces. We already are there, but you notice that the floors are not. So I'm going to go ahead and grab it again, select all adjacent surfaces, and I'm going to click on that so we can set it up again. And it's not going to let me click to it because there's two materials. Oh, okay. So let's grab that, and I want to do that and that. So now we combine them together and make one material. And I'll grab just this guy, and this guy, and let's go ahead and drag them back down so we can get it back onto the floor again. Like so. And then if we need to, we can go ahead and make our adjustments to our floor one more time. So that looks good. So now, again, what good is that? Well, if I want to keep moving these things around, I'm going to have to grab all those pieces parts and move them around again. Let's actually save all, because we don't want to lose 2-3 hours worth of work because, you know, we have an OCD against the autosave feature, and then forget to push that little save all button and lose 2 or 3 hours worth of work. Not that that's ever happened to me more than once a day. I'm just saying, just in case. So we don't actually see our floor right now because it is slightly below floor level. So we can either grab that floor piece, bring it up just a hair so it does stick to the floor, and we'll see a noticeable floor. So let's actually make this permanent to where, well, first off, I don't like the fact that the bricks are going this way, but the floor is kind of off axis. So I can grab that and just pick it one time, and on the rotate, but rotate it 45 degrees. It's a little bit too much. So let's actually rotate it. And I can tell it which way to go. Let's try another 20 degrees. So you could actually sit there and rotate by changing these numbers right here. It's not keeping the number, but yeah. Let's go 20. We've never actually done this, but you could sit there and play around with it and actually rotate those around to get it to be exact. But what I wanted to do was actually talk about, well, what if we want to move this around, place this in more than one spot? We can, and you know, if you want to add windows and do other things, I'm not really worried about dressing it up right now. This is just purely as an example. So I can grab this, our pieces that we have here, and we're going from our box brush 6, which is the opening for our door. And honestly, if it were being problematic, I would resize it and make it thinner, but we're not worried about that. And then we'll shift left click on all of them. So we have our box brush, which is our hole, our 3-cylinder brushes, and now that we have them all selected, I can move them anywhere that I want onto the map, but it would be a pain in the butt. So it would be nice if I could just, I don't know, make them into like a static mesh. I just created this. I want to make it as a static mesh. And oh wait, there's a button right here. So this, you click on the button and create static mesh, and tell it where you want to go. I want to go to my map assets, and we'll give it a name. We'll just call this round house, whatever. So now we can click on create static mesh, and it can bind them together into a static mesh that now has shadows. The textures are all working on it. Everything is all there, and we can actually go to the folder we just told it to go to. Go to our assets and map assets, and now we actually have, and let's do, because I don't want you to move, I want you to be right there where you're supposed to be. We can actually grab it and throw it into the map and put as many copies as we want. We now have a roundhouse village. You know, go back up to our materials. Well, this one is placed at 0 and 1400, so we can match that here, 1400. Negative 1400 because we're stupid, and we're at 910. Let's go ahead and by symmetry and OCDs, let's make it at 900. Control C and Control V. Well, you could do that, but let's go ahead and grab another one, and it will be negative 900 by 14. Nope, wrong key. Negative 1400. So now we actually have these that are on the map. We've created them all, but there's one slight problem. Now they don't have any collision. Holy crap. Now players will just be able to walk right through the walls and see you while you're in your birthday suit and dancing and, you know, that kind of stuff. So what can we do to actually fix that problem? And our height is at 80, so we can actually take this one and this one and make sure our heights are set at 80 so they match that guy. Well, we're gonna have to go into our roundhouse and open up our new static mesh that we created, and we can see, we can go inside, move around it, everything looks fine, but when we go over here, select our collision and go to our simple collision, nothing shows up. Okay, so what if we show our complex collision? Well, we can see that we have a complex collision, and worst case scenario, the easy way and cheap way, and if you're doing a small map with not a whole lot on it, you can go ahead and just come to this, and you see our static mesh. We now have 3 materials. Our basic floor material, if we wanted to make sure that that was gone forever, we can actually scroll back and turn that into brick, or we can change the concrete tile for the roof and the floor section. If we want to change that over to the marble, and now we can do the polished marble for that. So we now have access to change some of the materials on our object. But like I was saying, get sidetracked and use squirrel mode. We can, as a cheating method, I don't recommend this for everything you put on the map, because I'm sure it'll take its toll after a while. You can come down here, your collision complexity, and select use complex as simple. As a last-ditch effort, this is the way to do it. You can hit save and close and go into it. There are other ways of attaching collision, and leave them up to you to actually figure out which one, if you want a sphere, a capsule, a box, or a series of different types of simplified. Experiment with them and see what works best for your individual needs. But now if we go into it, we actually have collision. We can actually walk into it and we have a solid object. If we were to shoot at it, you actually hit something instead of, you know, projectiles going through it and people going through it, and you'll still be able to see through it, but that's just a near clipping plane issue. But there you go. And if you grab it, you can move it around, you can put it in the air, what have you. So I'm actually going to go ahead and delete those 2 copies of it. But it just shows you how you can take a BSP geometry, mess around with it, make it to where it's what you want, tweak it together, and a good way to organize it so that you know that you're only working with those files and those parts is you go up to New Place, you right click on it, create folder, and you can make one called Round House or whatever the thing you're working on is going to be. And everything you're working on, you left click and drag it into there, and now it's separated from the rest of the stuff, and you can hide it as you need to. Like all of our box brushes, we want these to be wall sections, so if we want to copy them or do anything with them, we can actually go into that. We can grab all of our walls and floors and stuff, move that in here. And again, all the other stuff, you can take them, create a new folder, and we'll just call this map shit. So we can throw the rest of our map shit in here. Because, you know, everybody needs a place to put all their shit, right? So now everything is collapsed. So if whenever I'm building something new, it's going to be right here. And I can create a new folder for it. And as I start getting 2 or 3 or 4 items in, I can just grab them, throw them in there, and be done with it. Now, it is going to keep asking you to build your lighting, but I'm not gonna. I'm actually going to throw a light in there first. Just going to throw a point light. And if you've got starter content, let's go ahead and delete that light. You can actually go into your starter content and into your blueprints folder, and you can grab a blueprint ceiling light, and we want to go ahead and make sure this is set to 0, -1400, and then we know that it's dead center in our roundhouse. We can go ahead and drag this guy up and attach it to the ceiling. Just want to make sure we get it as close as we can without going through. So now that we've created that, we can actually leave it the way it is, and we can quickly do you can select on the arrow between build and play and select do build lighting only. You only have a couple items in the map. It only takes a few seconds, so whatever, get it done, and you're all set. So while it's doing that, alright, so now that it's done doing its thing just about, we can go ahead and close out that window. We're done. And now if we go into it, it's a little bit darker in there, but our ceiling light has projected enough light in here to where we're good to go. So awesome, right? You want to be cool, you could add other stuff from there. You've got in the starter content in the props folder, you've got a chair, you've got a bush, you know, you can throw a bush out there. If you're going to throw bushes into your scene, yeah, try not to make them face the same direction or exactly the same size. So this is at 120, and we'll go ahead and make this one at 120. So they're symmetrical to the door. Alright, and then we can actually grab the transform and let's rotate it around a little bit so it looks a little bit different, and that one looks a little different that way, and you can kind of play around with those aspects of it just to make them look a little different. You can also scale them like up a couple percent or down a couple percent, so they're a little bit unique each way. So leave that up to you to kind of fiddle around with. We're at -930, so we'll make this one at -930, so they're placed correctly. I'm not going to rebuild lighting for a couple of bushes, but you've got a couch, you've got a table, you've got like our table. We'll go ahead and drop it in, put it in the center. 0, negative 14, new 1400. That's going to put it in the center of the room, right directly underneath our lamp. We can throw in, oh, I don't know, a little statue up on top here. And again, if we want it to be dead centered, we know that 0 and negative 1400. It's going to put it directly on our table, dead center. Again, I want to place a chair. Well, it's not rotated the right direction, so I can manually do it at 90 degrees. And we're going to 0 it. And we're at 1530. That's good distance away from it. And let's go ahead and throw a couch in. Yeah, whatever. That looks lovely. But yeah, you can see you can come in here and play with all these different accessories and add them in there. You've got window glass. If you want to be so really cool and create a door frame and stick that in there, rotate it 90 degrees, resize it to fit your actual door frame. That's cool. You've also got a door you can set in there. Of course, it doesn't work on its own. You have to create your own functions for it. But if you want to make your own stuff, there's a lot of different assets. There are some stairs right here, but let's actually move directly into the stairs. And if you were to take a regular item with stairs, that's great. If that's all you need is that way. Because what will happen is, if you try to use any kind of stretching on it or scaling, you did 2 by 2 by 2, it just doesn't look right. It just gets bigger. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and do a lighting build only while we're discussing this. So we're going to actually grab the BSP geometry version of the stairs so that we can tell it how many stairs that we want and things of that nature. And we have a bit more control over our actual stairs. So we want to build stairs to the top of this thing so we can take a look at the rooftop. Whatever. We'll come over to our geometry, and we have different options. We have curved stairs, which are usually shorter. We got spiral stairs. Let's actually be oddball here, and let's grab some spiral stairs. And what we'll do is we'll try to make them work to wrap around the outside, or we could have put them on the inside, so when we go into our tower, we can just turn to the left and then, boom, go right up our stairs up to the rooftop. But we're not going to. We're going to see if we can get it to just first work to get the height that we need, and then we'll go from there. Well, this is cool. It's right there, and in your brush settings you've got so many different options you can work with. Your inner radius, you can adjust that. Well, our outer radius on this is 400, so what happens if we change our inner radius to 400? It's really big. And our location, if we put it at 0 and negative 1400, it wraps it around this way. Now we're going to have to rotate it. So, and we could use this right here for now. So it's actually going to put it right there by our door, but not directly on top of it. So, and that's fine, but it's not going to get us all the way to the top. So first off, let's look to see if it's actually getting in the way of our door. It is a little bit, so you can change the stair height. I'm actually going to drop it down a little bit so that the first step is only the same height as there. So we can grab our stair width. We can change that to 100. A little skinny. We can actually change that to the original 200 and allows us to be normal that way. We can try our stair height. Let's take it from 20 to 40. Yikes. Well, that'll get us to where we need to go, but a little bit excessive. So let's take that 40 and go back to 30. Let's see if we can actually walk on our stairs. So we get up to our stairs and we can walk around. Seem to be sticking a little bit on the last stair. It doesn't quite go all the way to the very top. So let's actually click back on our spiral stair brush. And let's add a few more stairs. We're at 16. So what happens if we go to 18? It adds 2 more. Well, that's not quite enough. So let's go ahead and try it at 18. Nope, we didn't mean to do that. Number of steps. I put number of steps per revolution. So for a 360-degree span, which is a full circle, you can tell it how many steps fit into that category. So if you need to make some more changes, you can actually go that route. So let's try 20. That's actually not bad. That'll get us where we need to go. So let's actually try those stairs out and see how they work. So we can come over here and walk around. We're still hitting that one little collision right there, but it's functional nonetheless. Alright, so just to go about doing this, we can go ahead and click on it. Click on select all adjacent surfaces, and let's go ahead and give it a material. Let's make it out of wood just to be different. Make it out of oak, and there we go. So now we look at our stairs. We have some oak stairs that go all the way around our little roundhouse, and we can get to the rooftop. This is kind of a pointless thing, but you do sometimes get that little weird collision. I'm not sure why, but you do get that collision from time to time. But that's how you can do round stairs. It's no different if you want to screw around with a linear stair. If you want to build a stair that would make it all the way up to the roof over there so you can escape, for whatever reason. Well, I don't want it to be made out of that wood. Let's actually just go ahead and make them out of, for right now, just a basic floor material, just to get the point across. And I'm going to stick it over here against the side. And yes, it looks like it's staying in the same spot, but it's just not redrawing it yet. Well, just not quite enough stairs to make it up. So we can actually move it over. The number of steps we can go from 10, we can actually slide it this way. And I'm just moving this slider bar left and right. 45 doesn't quite make it. So let's go ahead and we can manually enter a number. Let's try 50. We can move it over here and see that, okay, we still need to, so I have it against the wall. I can see my height level. And number of steps, 50. Well, that seems to be the max number of steps that it'll let me create. So let me walk over here and actually take a look at it. And so it wouldn't let me go all the way to the very top of my stairs to get to this. Yes, I could just go over and jump, but that's not what we want to do. We want to be able to get up there. So how can we actually make it work? Grab our linear stair. We can actually change the step height from 20 to 25, not 250. A little bit much, so let's bring it back down to 22. So we can adjust the stair height, and that'll get us there. Stair height, let's try 223. Too much, so 22.5. And it's whole numbers only, so okay, no problem. So now we can get close enough to where we can just step over onto it. But let's make sure that our character can actually walk up and down these stairs smoothly. And that is not a problem. We can easily go up and down and fall off. So let's actually go one more step farther. Let's grab our stairs one more time. Let's go from our stair length from 30 to 50. Let's make our stairs longer. And stick it right there. And now the stairs are still functional. They're the same height back and forth, but what we've done is gone ahead and created a steeper stair so we can actually make it fill the environment a little bit better. So that's good on that. And again, if you wanted to go in and you didn't want all of the stairs showing up, you could actually go ahead and create a box geometry and change it to subtractive. Now if you notice, we want to cut a hole into our stairs, which are 200 wide anyway. So play around with it as we need to. If we move it too far, it's going to fall through the walls and stuff. But let's bring it to right there. We can see we've cut a hole in it. And we can screw around with it back and forth just to get it just right. But I'm just going to leave it for right here for right now. And we can change the dimensions of this. And let's say if we want to make it the x-axis to 1,000. It's probably going to be too short, but oh well. I can grab this, and now I can get my rotate transform. And I can manually do the transform this way. So if you wanted to not show underneath the stairs, and again, this would be something that if I wanted to do it correctly, I would bring this out, and I would bring my stairs out a little bit so that I can actually chop a hole in them. You see we're shoved up against that wall. So let's grab our box brush, take a look at it again, and it doesn't go all the way through our stairs. There we go. So now our angle that we're on is a 20-degree pitch. We can manually change it if we wanted to. We can use our transform tool to go back and forth, and if you can't get the angle perfect this way, you can turn off the snapping on the rotation grid and just slightly tweak it. And what I would say, if you're trying to make it match like the angle of the stairs, actually move it up for right now to where it's chopping into the stairs, and then you can go ahead and line it up that way. So every time you rotate a little bit and stop, rotate a little bit and stop, get it to where you really like the angle to match your stairs. And when you think it looks good, which this will be good enough for me for right now, then you can now bring it back down. And since we're going up against this wall like this, it is going to chop into it, but there is another way you can fix that as well. And I'll show you a quick shortcut on that, but let's make it actually a little bit longer. Let's go to 1800. We just want our top points right there to be there, and we'll leave this the way it is for now. But let's go ahead and drag it down just a little bit so stairs are a little bit thicker. Okay, reason why I wanted the top two to be even with the wall is because we can, and it's not perfect, but it'll match good enough for now. I can now go ahead and switch over to the geometry editing mode, and I can select that and that separately by control left clicking on both of them. And now I can kind of get a good look at my wall, and I can actually move these to match up with my wall. And then whenever I let go and stop, I've just made it flush out with the level of the wall. And you know, you're gonna have to go back in and tweak left and right here and there so that you're just only doing what you want it to do. So you can make it to where now you walk over to your stairs, you can actually see that it matches the contour of the wall up there because you were able to actually edit the geometry. Knowing that you can edit those individual points means you can do so much. Again, the same thing here. If you wanted to make this as close to the floor, that's good. So now what if you just want to come over here and let's grab our box brush. I'm going to grab this corner and this corner by control left clicking. We're still in the edit mode up here. So now I can grab this and drag it down, and I can get it down to the floor level. And then I can come over here and grab this one and this one, and I can bring it out to where it pretty closely matches the other angle. And now we look at it. Now there's ways to camouflage it all. You can actually take your bottom two that are in this corner right here and bump them up and make your adjustments and fine tune it. But now you get the effect that you've just created a hovering set of stairs that you can actually go up on, or you can actually walk underneath of, and everything works. Isn't that awesome? Oh, sorry, I didn't see your comment there, Slim. The whole point of this is showing some of the things you can use for creating maps with, and the use of BSP geometries. And just like this one right here, now that I've created this, the other way to do it is actually create it the way that we want to for the actual stair portion of it. And then now that we've got our angle or step height and everything we want correctly for our stairs, we can drag it up into the sky, take our BSP geometry, go ahead and chop off the areas that we don't want to see, and then convert that into a static mesh, throw some collision on it, you're done. You now have a freestanding set of stairs you can throw into your map that won't show through the floor. So if we wanted to do that, we could actually grab our box brush and our linear stair by control left clicking, getting both of them at the same time. And I'm going to go ahead and grab these guys. And again, if we wanted to do that, we could also just grab our box brush and grab, while we're in our geometry editing mode, you can grab this corner by left clicking on it, control left click on this one, and then again over here at the bottom, control left click, and that should have all of them where now you can drag it over and make that disappear. So with that gone, we want to go ahead and just left click on this one and then control left click on this one, so that we break the link on the other ones, bring it down just a hair, and that's gotten rid of all of it. So now we have our box brush here is a subtractive type brush setting, which again is selected right here from our brush type. We now have these two guys set up. I can click both of them and control click both of those so that I have both of them selected. Oh, that looks terrible. Maybe it's just the angle that I was looking at, but it looks like this is... Let's go ahead and grab these two here again, and I'm going to bring it a little bit farther forward so it a little bit better matches the profile. So that looks better. So I can grab, like I said, shift left click or control left click both of those two guys. Now that I've got them, I can come over here to create static mesh. I'm going to go to whatever folder I want to put it in. For my case, it's going to be assets, map assets. And I'm just going to call this the long stairs, no spaces, dum-dum, underscore stairs. And then create static mesh. And there we go. And now I can go ahead and drag it back down. We've converted it into a static mesh, so we can actually position it wherever we want it to in the world. And it's always going to be this size and always be this awesome. Now, we did create it into a static mesh, so then we just go back into our static mesh. And first off, I want to make sure it's sticking down. There we go. So now we can actually set our map asset, go to our long stairs, open it up, take our new object, and again, if we look at our collision, we're not going to have any. So if you look at the complex collision, which sadly is probably the best option for stairs anyway, just right click, scroll down till you find your collision project default, go to use complex as simple, and again, hate using this method, but you're going to have to do that on some models just to make it work when you're creating your own static meshes this way with BSP geometries. So now we actually have collision, and we can walk up our stairs and walk down our stairs, but we now can walk underneath our stairs. We don't have anything blocking it, and it looks awesome. So we've just created our own standalone stair system that we can actually walk on, and we can select it, Control C and Control V, make a copy of it and slide it over. And every time we do that, we're creating a new copy of it that, yes, we can walk on. Everything looks great. Everything looks awesome. And I'm going to do one more little decorative piece that I like to do for, well, you got to have some railings because, you know, you don't want to fall off your stairs. Because if you fell off, that would be bad, right? So quickly, let's make a decorative system. Now you do have in your starter content, in your props, you have a glass window that you can use. You can rescale it. Everything is lovely. Let's drop that in there. And it's actually got a little bit of thickness to it. It's not bad. It's very usable. So, I mean, that's nice. But we can do our own. And let's go back. I'm actually going to close our starter content. Nope, I don't want to close it all the way because I need a material. I need m_glass. We're going to go back to our regular mode here. And I'm going to go to my geometry. And I'm just going to use this as an example. I'm going to grab a box brush, drag it in here, and by having the material selected here, whenever I actually drop it into the scene, it will be that material whenever I bring in a BSB geometry. So now, again, we're going to keep our brain off of these transform tools up here and actually edit from the brush settings. Let's go ahead and change, well, which way do we want to go? We want to change our x-axis. I'm watching this little tiny version of my compass on the bottom left. So if I change my x value from 200 into 20, it makes a nice little thin wall. I can actually make it even smaller and go 10. And height wise, let's actually walk over there and take a look at it. You can see it. It stops you. Lovely. Nice piece of glass. So we want it to be about, ooh, I don't know. Actually, again, let's keep up with our organization. Make a new folder here by right-clicking, select new folder, and let's go with furniture. I'm going to grab our bushes and our round table and our statue and all that junk. There's 2 statues. I didn't put 2 down, so let's delete 1. I'm going to go ahead and put my stairs in there as well. And I'm just going to grab all that stuff and check it in the furniture folder so we can minimize it and get them out of there. Spiral stair, let's go ahead and put that into the roundhouse folder. Ceiling light goes in the roundhouse. And now we know that we're working on this guy. And also, again, you can actually click on it, change the name of it, and we're going to make glass panel. So we renamed it so we can actually work with it. So we want it to be shorter, so let's change our Z height to about 50, and this is not going to be good enough. I'm going to have to change it again. Bring it up just a hair off the floor. So it's actually a little bit too short. So we'll actually take it and click on it up here. We'll change the Z height to 75. Let's try 100. We'll leave it at 100 for right now. Again, we want it to be just off the floor, and so we don't have to keep running back and forth trying to figure out what we're looking at. I'm going to move it over here closer. I'm already on the 0 line, so that's cool. I'm going to change this to -300. So we have a prescribed center to work from. Grab our player start. I'm going to switch him, to rotate him around 90 degrees. And I don't have my rotation locked anymore, so I'm going to Control Z. Click back on my snapping for here and rotate 90 degrees, and now when we go in to look at it, we can actually see our railing is close enough. So now if you wanted to, you can go ahead and take a cylinder, and this is one of the cases where you can actually use a basic and use a cylinder this way. And yes, it is extremely large. We're going to resize it because it's not going to matter because we're going to use a simple texture on it. So if we look at our glass panel is -300, so we want this to be -300 so that it's in line perfectly with the center of it. And then we're going to change our scale, our X and Y scale, to 0.2, 0.2. I'm just hitting the tab key to cycle back and forth from it. So that's actually not bad. It's a little bit bigger than I would normally want, but since we have our glass a little thicker. So now we just need to make our adjustment for our height and slide it a little bit closer. So now we have that. We're at 110 here, so Control C, Control V, And we know that this one is at 110, so this one needs to be at negative 110. So that's perfect. Everything else is perfect. And now what we've created is a railing system. We can actually take our glass panel and move it up, get it off of the floor so you don't have any bottom collisions. And since that needs to be a little bit bigger, let's go ahead and change it to 1.1. Let's make it even taller. 1.5. Now it is sticking through the ground, so as you're making your adjustments, it's going from the center dimension. So I'm going to actually change it to 1.2 and then go ahead and raise it up so it's still sitting on the floor, but it's sticking up a little bit above. And we change it to 1.2 so we can do the same thing. 1.2, and our height is 160, so we need to change our height manually to 160 so everything is perfect. And now if you wanted to, you could actually grab another one, Control C, Control V, pick it up, rotate it 90 degrees, and then position it on the top. And I'm going to go ahead and set it to 0 there. And I'm actually going to make it even smaller. So we'll go 0.1, 0.1, and 1.6. Let's try 2. So now we can bring it back down here. And we've made a top rail. And if we want, we can go ahead and Control C, Control V, grab that, drop it down, so we now have a bottom rail. Now, these are going to be fine the way that they are. They're solid. Let's go ahead and grab all 4 of these cylinders. Nope, left click here, and then shift click here. So I grab all those at the same time. I'm going to select my metal chrome, and then I'm going to change my material down here, and bang. Now we have these nice little chrome pieces right here. Now, if you're wanting to use these for creating a static mesh again, like we did over here, this is one where you don't have to do a complex collision. So we can make a simpler collision system for it when we convert it to a static mesh. But here's the thing, so we have all 4 of these panels are cool, right? That's lovely. If we're just going to place this one, then that's great. But if we want to connect pieces together, what we're going to do is we're going to make a single one where it's this, and then we're going to, which I'm going to do Control C, and I'm actually going to make a new folder for it. New folder is going to be called Rail. And I'm going to grab all these pieces right here, and I'm going to drag them into our Rail folder. Close up the rest of this junk. Now, Control V, we can paste another one in, and see now it's down here, and it's not interfering with our rail that we already created. And I'm going to take one of the side rail patterns. Yeah, eventually with the fall damage, this is something you can add in later. There's something called a kill Z height, which would just kill you if you fell past a certain distance. But there's other ways of actually creating that, and it's all part of physics. Bit more in depth on changing that around, but still doable. So I'm going to grab one of those legs and I'm going to take it off. And then I'm going to grab these guys, and whenever I place them, this is going to be imaginary. As I go in to place them, I can place it on the map and pick the location, and there you go. So by doing that, I can actually continue my railing system by adding multiple pieces in place. And I'll show you more exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to grab my original rail, click on all of them, and going to, while I've got them selected. Now, with the BSP geometries, what we did was we were able to grab the, what I meant to do. We can grab all the pieces together and make it into one. But when we're talking about these pieces right here, they're not BSPs. We don't have that option down here to convert them all. So there is another way to do that. We can grab these guys, and I'm going to see if we can do it with our glass panel as well. And you right click on it and convert actors to static mesh. And again, we want to come over to our assets, map assets, and let's call it the full underscore rail, and save. So now we've created that. Let's actually look in that and grab one, throw it into the map so we can look at it. So it's there, no collision, and the glass didn't go with it because it didn't like combining the BSP geometry, which kind of sucks. But we can actually take our glass panel and we can bring it over here, and we want to go ahead and convert that into a static mesh, so we can create another static mesh, which is our asset folder, map assets, to our glass panel. Well, we can leave that in there, but we're going to call this our rail glass panel, and since it doesn't like spaces, you just have to put underline. So we have our rail glass panel, create static mesh, and since we're not going to be able to keep our glass there, see, there's our glass, we can just grab that in, position it wherever we need it, and go from there. Kind of sad that I couldn't join them manually into one piece static mesh, but oh well. So let's go ahead and grab our other 3 cylinders here. These are going to be our side ones, and we're going to go ahead and convert that into a static mesh. Our glass panel is going to be the same, so it's not a big deal. I'm going to convert actors to static mesh, and again select our folder, and we're going to call this our rail add-on. Call it whatever you like, but now we have our own. We don't need our BSP geometry and our other stuff, so I can grab all of these guys. I'm gonna grab all of it and grab these guys too. I'm gonna just dump them all off the map. I don't need you guys anymore. So let's go to our full rail and our collision. You know, instead of doing a complex collision, and yes, there's 4 different textures, so if you wanted to come in here and say change this one over to copper, I don't like that. Let's go back. What about this one? Let's change it over to gold. You put a gold rail up there, and we do a gold rail there. You can change it to whatever you want to here, but for the sake of it, I'm going to keep it all chrome because it matches up. Our collision, click on collision up top, and let's try a add 180D simplified collision, and it just puts a collision box all the way around the outside of it, and that's good enough. And we'll hit save and close. We're going to do that with our rail add-on as well. Come to our collision and add our collision in and hit save. And now when we go ahead and place these guys into our map, we're facing this way, so I can grab a full rail section, grab a rail section. I'm going to click on my full rail, and I'm going to go ahead and set this one to 0, and see, we're dead center now with our static mesh, so it's easier to line up. And let's set this to -500, so it'll be there, and I can grab this, change it to -500, and just move my other one over to that. Grab my glass panel. Don't really need to worry about collision on this particular guy because the frame is going to stop us from going through. So we know we need to be at -500 and 0, and then we can scroll it down and set it to there, and we can Control C, Control V, put another one in, and there we go. And now if I wanted to copy these two, I can grab both of them, Control C, Control V, and let's slide them over, and let's actually do a manual rotation of 180, and that's going to flip it around. I can grab a glass and shove it back over here too, and then get both of them, slide it in. And this is again where we want to make sure that this is sitting at 250 and negative 250. It's symmetrical, everything lines up, everything's perfect. But as you notice, they're all kind of sticking into the ground a little bit. So I can grab all of them, pick them up one notch, hit play, and now I have a nice little glass railing that my player won't fall off the edge of the map with. So you can block a player in and be stylish at the same time. Same thing we did for creating our BSP geometry for our glass for up here. We can actually take and go to our materials, select our glass, go to our geometry. Let's create another box. So if we want to create a side rail over here for our stairs, grab that. We want to take our Y, make it into 10 wide. We want to make this about our X dimension. We want to drag that out to 2000. It needs to be longer than that, but this is just for the example. And we can grab it. It's a perfect little square. We can rotate it, match the angle. And again, this is where you're going to have to undo your snapping. And I would also drag it over to where it's inside of your stairs, so you can match the angle up a lot better. See, the angle is not quite there. So we'll go to our rotation. We'll uncheck our snapping for rotation. We'll just keep positioning it and throwing it around until you get it just right. And then you can move it from there, but you just want to get your rotation right. Spend some time getting it perfect, or as perfect as you need, and then you can space it out just a little bit. You can do your rails like we did here and run them up there. I mean, if you really wanted to do it, you could grab all these guys, pick them up, rotate them, and do it. But this gives us a flexibility here when we're doing with the BSP geometry. If we wanted to go ahead and switch over to our geometry editing and grab these two guys and stretch it down to where it matches the end of your stairs. Again, take your time, get it right. And also with our bottom corner, I'm going to grab those guys, I'm going to bring it down to the end as well, drop it down to the floor, and go up here. BSP geometry editing, taking your time, you can create some outstanding models and stuff you can use inside your level without actually going into a modeling program, spending your time to actually create them. Oh, my dum-dum self had these guys still selected, so I gotta redo that. But just take your time, and say if you want it to be parallel with the bottom of the stairs, grab those two guys. You can scroll in, scroll out, do whatever you need to do. Get one item, and try not to misclick like I do all the time. I've been screwing things up left and right, but alright. So take your time and make some really cool stuff, and make sure you hit that save all button every so often, especially if you're the kind of weirdo like I am that turns off your, I don't know, your auto save feature because you don't like it. So again, take your time, make it the way you want it, and then if you want to leave it the way it is, okay, go right ahead. But you can also have the option of turning it into a static mesh. So in my case, just drag it over here, get it highlighted with the bottom of the stairs, You see, I did make a mistake, so I'll grab this one, drag it back down next to his brother. You can just line it up with the bottom of the stairs that way. Get back, take a look at it, see if you like it, hit play, test it out. You can see you have a panel of glass now. You can block players from falling over the side. And again, still, if you need to go into it, we're on box brush 6. So you can actually change the height of it here. The Z height is always going to be the Z height. I can change this to 150. But messing around with it too much, you know. But look at it now. I've screwed it all up, so we can, you know, try to do the undo feature on it. We've killed it. Let's grab our glass texture, put it back on there. So yeah, you can still play around with it, and again, hit that save all button, let it save. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. You guys can get questions to me. I'll try to get to them as quickly as I can on the Discord channel. But I just wanted to experiment and show you guys how you can experiment with these BSP geometries, convert them into static meshes, stretch them, modify them. You can make all kind of cool stuff with them. You can, like I said, converting them into static meshes. You can then drag them and drop them back into your level. The only thing that stops you from making really cool levels is your own imagination. Because once you learn the basics of messing with BSP geometries, the sky's the limit, really and truly. And you can do some really, really cool stuff. So, with that being said, I'll hit my little build lighting, and we'll go ahead and call it quits on this video. And I'll see you on the next one. You guys take care, and drop me some questions.